In the beginning, before the stars were born and the cosmos took shape, the universe was a canvas of untamed potential, a swirling expanse of energies and possibilities. Amidst this primordial chaos, the Titans emerged, colossal beings of immeasurable power, destined to bring order to the great tapestry of creation. Among these celestial architects was Sargeras, whose name would one day become synonymous with ruin and despair, but whose origins were steeped in nobility and purpose. Sargeras was forged from the very essence of the universe itself, a being of incalculable strength and wisdom. As a Titan, he was a paragon of virtue, chosen by the Pantheon, the ruling council of the Titans, to protect and shepherd the cosmos. In those ancient days, Sargeras shone brightly as the most formidable of his kin, his spirit filled with an unyielding resolve to eradicate chaos wherever it lurked. His prowess in battle was legendary. His blade cleaved through the darkness with righteous fury, and his presence inspired awe and hope among his brethren. To the Pantheon, Sargeras was entrusted with a sacred duty: to lead the charge against the void, the chaotic forces that sought to unravel the order the Titans worked so tirelessly to instill. The universe was a vast expanse, teeming with life and potential, yet also infested with the vile corruption of the Void Lords, malevolent entities that sought to twist reality to their own ends. Sargeras, the vanguard of order, stood as the bulwark against this insidious threat. In his quest to cleanse the universe, Sargeras traveled across the myriad worlds, encountering countless horrors spawned by the void. He witnessed planets consumed by madness, civilizations torn asunder by the whispers of the void. Yet despite the darkness he faced, Sargeras held firm, driven by an unwavering belief in the Pantheon's vision of a harmonious universe. Each victory only strengthened his resolve. Each battle honed his skills and deepened his understanding of the forces at play. However, it was during these early campaigns that Sargeras began to perceive the true scale of the threat. The void's corruption was not easily vanquished. It clung relentlessly to existence, defying even his considerable might. Doubts began to creep into Sargeras's mind, whispering insidiously of his mission's futility. As he delved deeper into the heart of chaos, seeking to root out the void's influence entirely, he discovered something that would test his faith and purpose like never before. In the vastness of the cosmos, amid swirling nebulae and nascent worlds, Sargeras, once the noble champion of the Titan Pantheon, confronted a revelation that shook his fundamental beliefs. He stumbled upon a world consumed entirely by the void's sinister grasp. Here, the very essence of life was twisted, a grotesque mockery of creation. The creatures that dwelled within were not merely influenced by the void. They were its very embodiment, a dark testament to corruption's pervasive power. These monstrosities, known as the Nathrezim, or Dreadlords, were cunning, malevolent beings, masters of manipulation and deceit. These encounters with the Nathrezim were pivotal. They revealed to Sargeras that the void sought not just to corrupt, but to annihilate existence itself, replacing the vibrant tapestry of life with endless chaos and darkness. The depth of this menace was unfathomable, and for the first time, the Titan felt a chill of despair. The Nathrezim spoke of an ancient prophecy, of a dark future where the Void Lords would consume all light, extinguishing every spark of hope across the universe. Their words, seductive and venomous, seeped into Sargeras's consciousness, planting seeds of dread and doubt. Sargeras, compelled by an insatiable need to understand this threat, interrogated the Dreadlords, seeking knowledge and insight into the Void's true intentions. What he learned was both enlightening and terrifying. The Nathrezim revealed the existence of the old gods, harbingers of chaos that slumbered within the very worlds the Pantheon sought to protect. These eldritch horrors were the instruments of the Void Lords, designed to corrupt the Titan souls within planets, transforming them into monstrous beings of darkness. The scale of the Void's insidious plan was beyond comprehension, a cosmic conspiracy aimed at the destruction of all that was beautiful and pure. Faced with this existential threat, Sargeras' resolve wavered. The noble purpose bestowed upon him by the Pantheon seemed woefully inadequate in the face of such overwhelming malevolence. How could creation flourish when it was constantly beset by such insidious forces? The weight of this revelation bore heavily upon his mighty shoulders, and a seed of doubt began to grow within the heart of the once stalwart guardian. This was the first crack in Sargeras' armor, a fissure that would deepen as the shadows of doubt and despair grew. The champion of the Pantheon found himself at a crossroads, his faith in the divine mission shaken to its core. This internal struggle marked the beginning of a transformation that would not only alter his destiny, but also set the stage for cataclysmic events that would reverberate throughout the cosmos. As the light of his purpose began to dim, Sargeras stood on the precipice of a dark path that would lead him inexorably toward a fate from which there would be no return. In the vast tapestry of the cosmos, Sargeras stood as a beacon of hope and strength, the embodiment of raw power channeled for order and balance. As the champion of the Pantheon, he bore the unique mantle of shielding the universe from the predations of chaos and despair. His presence was a radiant bulwark against the encroaching darkness, a testament to the might of the Titans as they sought to weave harmony into the fabric of existence. The duties entrusted to Sargeras were monumental, for he was tasked with quelling the insidious forces that threatened to unravel the order the Titans so arduously sought to maintain. His vigilance was unyielding. Across the stars, he moved with purpose and resolve, extinguishing the embers of chaos wherever they threatened to ignite. To the civilizations who glimpsed him, Sargeras was more than a Titan. He was an avatar of divine justice. In his role, Sargeras wielded weapons of immense power. His blade, wreathed in cosmic fire, cleaved through the void-born monstrosities that dared defy the Pantheon. With every swing, the dark forces trembled, their resolve shattered by the indomitable will of the Titan. His mastery over the elements was unparalleled, a symphony of fire and light that swept aside shadows and despair. But it was not only through might that Sargeras excelled. His wisdom and understanding of the cosmic order were profound. He studied the myriad realms, delving into their mysteries to unravel the patterns that governed their existence. This knowledge was a crucial tool, allowing him to anticipate the movements of his foes and counter them with precision and forethought. The Pantheon revered him, for he was not just their champion, but a guiding light in their quest to nurture the universe. Yet the weight of his responsibilities bore heavily upon Sargeras. As he journeyed through the cosmos, he encountered worlds where the old gods had taken root, their tendrils snaking into the very essence of life, perverting it to their dark purposes. These abominable entities twisted the natural order, sowing seeds of madness and destruction. Sargeras witnessed firsthand the ruin they wrought, entire civilizations consumed by their insatiable hunger. Despite his victories, Sargeras could not shake the growing unease that took hold of him. The whispers of the void grew louder, their insidious promises echoing in the recesses of his mind. Doubt gnawed at him, a relentless spectre that questioned the very foundation of the Pantheon's mission. How could they hope to bring order when such malevolence festered unchecked? His encounters with the Nathrezim had revealed a chilling truth, one that haunted his every thought. If the old gods could not be eradicated, what hope was there for the cosmos? How could he continue to fight against a universe seemingly intent on its own destruction? These questions tormented Sargeras, a torment that was only deepened by the whispers that sought to pull him into madness. The cosmos, once a tapestry of potential and promise, now seemed a battleground of inevitability, with forces of corruption eternally poised to unravel any semblance of order. Yet, for a time, Sargeras stood resolute, his colossal form a bastion against the encroaching chaos. His resolve, though tested, had not yet shattered. As the champion of the Pantheon, he wielded powers beyond mortal comprehension, and with each titanic stride, he brought light to the darkest corners of the universe. Planets, once consumed by chaos and despair, were cleansed by his might and restored to their nascent glory. The Pantheon watched with pride as their champion carved a path through the cosmos, each victory a testament to their enduring vision of order and harmony. But with each world saved, Sargeras became more acutely aware of the fragility of creation. The endless legions of demonic entities he vanquished seemed to spring forth unceasingly, as if the very fabric of reality was inexorably woven with the threads of destruction. It was a realization that hung heavily upon him, a weight that grew with each battle won. The cosmos, he concluded, was a cycle of creation and annihilation, a cycle that no amount of force or might could truly end. Driven by his newfound understanding, Sargeras sought counsel with the other titans, his brothers and sisters in purpose. He laid bare his fears and insights, urging them to reconsider their methods, to accept the possibility that their vision might be fundamentally flawed. The Pantheon, unwavering in their dedication, listened but did not heed. They remained steadfast, their belief in order's eventual triumph as unyielding as the stars themselves. As the deliberations concluded, Sargeras found himself at a crossroads. The cosmic truth he had unearthed resonated within him, a revelation he could no longer ignore. The void's whispers, once a background murmur, now seemed a siren's call, urging him to rethink his place in the grand design. The ultimate question lingered. Was it not the duty of the champion to not only defend, but to reshape, to ensure that order could truly prevail, even at a cost unimaginable? Thus, the seeds of doubt bore strange fruit within him. Sargeras, the stalwart defender, began to see another path, one that diverged from the Pantheon's light. In the heart of this inner conflict, the cosmos held its breath, unaware that the defender was on the brink of becoming the destroyer. In the vast tapestry of the cosmos, a shadow loomed, imperceptible and insidious. Beyond the tangible chaos that Sargeras had valiantly battled lay a deeper darkness, an ancient and unfathomable presence that had stirred for eons. This was the domain of the Void Lords, enigmatic entities whose very nature bespoke a malevolence that even the Titans scarcely comprehended. These beings, birthed from the depths of the void, harbored ambitions that transcended mere destruction. They sought to consume reality itself, to shroud all existence in eternal darkness. The revelation of the Void Lord's sinister machinations was a turning point, a moment of awakening that cast the cosmos in a new, foreboding light. The Void Lords had long been the architects of despair, their influence seeping into the fabric of reality through the insidious whispers of the old gods. These malevolent deities, seeded like malignant tumors upon unsuspecting worlds, were but the instruments through which the Void Lords endeavored to manifest their will. For Sargeras, this discovery was a revelation of profound consequence. The Void Lords had remained hidden, their intentions obscured by the veil of the cosmos itself. Yet now their presence was undeniable, a spectre that overshadowed the very mission for which he had been created. The Titans, in their quest to impose order, had underestimated the depth of the darkness lurking in the shadows. The old gods, with their grotesque appendages and minds bent on madness, were merely the heralds of a far more sinister design. As Sargeras delved deeper into the nature of this unseen threat, he came to understand the true peril they posed. The Void Lords sought not only to corrupt, but to consume, to twist the very fabric of creation into a reflection of their own malevolent essence. With each world they touched, the old gods spread their influence like a plague, sowing discord and despair, their tendrils choking the life from vibrant worlds. The Titans' efforts to cleanse the universe of this corruption seemed increasingly futile in the face of such overwhelming darkness. This realization marked the beginning of a schism within Sargeras' own soul. The noble titan, once steadfast in his purpose, found himself ensnared in a web of doubt and fear. The knowledge that the Void Lord's influence stretched across the cosmos, corrupting worlds with callous indifference, gnawed at him. The Titans had sought to nurture order, but the Void Lords threatened to unravel the very fabric of existence, leaving nothing but an all-consuming void in their wake. In this dire moment, Sargeras grappled with the enormity of his revelation, the weight of his responsibility pressing down upon him like a millstone. He pondered the limitations of the Titans' methods, the fragility of their creations in the face of such a relentless adversary. The question loomed, oppressive and inescapable. Could order truly withstand a darkness so profound, or was their very mission doomed to fail from the outset? As he wrestled with these thoughts, the path before Sargeras became one of uncertainty and transformation, an odyssey that would ultimately lead him down a road from which there might be no return. Driven by a desperate need for answers, Sargeras embarked on a solitary quest to uncover the deeper truths of the universe. In the dark reaches of the cosmos, where the light of the Pantheon barely flickered, he sought to understand the origins and intentions of these shadowy forces that threatened all creation. It was in these forgotten depths that Sargeras first glimpsed the terrible majesty of the Void Lords, entities of unfathomable power and malevolence, whose very existence defied the order that the Titans held sacred. These Void Lords, Sargeras came to realize, were not mere agents of chaos, but primordial architects of despair, scheming to consume all light and life. Their influence spread across the fabric of reality like a cancer, birthing the old gods as their insidious heralds. The revelations were staggering, reshaping his understanding of the cosmic balance and the true scale of the threat they faced. He saw the universe not as a tapestry of order waiting to be woven, but as a battleground with the forces of darkness surging ever forward, relentless and unyielding. The more Sargeras learned, the more he understood the futility of the Pantheon's current methods. The Titans, for all their power, were fighting a war they could not hope to win with mere creation and order. The Void Lords operated on a scale that dwarfed even the mightiest of Titans, their endgame being nothing less than the annihilation of reality itself. The realization struck Sargeras with the force of 1,000 storms. To preserve existence, he might have to embrace the very darkness he had sworn to extinguish. It was in this crucible of doubt and discovery that Sargeras' transformation accelerated. He began to see the need for a new path, one not hindered by the constraints of his former beliefs. The universe needed a champion who could wield both light and shadow, who could destroy as well as create. This was the only way to counter the Void's encroaching threat. His resolve hardened into a grim determination, a willingness to sacrifice everything to safeguard the cosmos from a fate worse than oblivion. Thus, Sargeras' odyssey through the Void's mysteries reached a critical juncture. The seeds of rebellion were sown, and a new purpose took root in his heart. He would rise not just as a guardian, but as a conqueror, prepared to do whatever was necessary, even if it meant turning against those he once called kin. This new vision would forge him into a force unlike any the universe had ever known, setting the stage for a cataclysmic confrontation that would reshape the destiny of all worlds. As Sargeras stood on the precipice of his decision, the echoes of his choice would reverberate through the ages, marking the dawn of a new era in the annals of cosmic history. In the vast tapestry of cosmic conflict, there existed a dark shadow lurking just beyond the periphery of the Titan's understanding. This shadow, the Nathrazim, also known as the Dreadlords, were enigmatic beings whose true nature was known to few and understood by even fewer. It was in his relentless pursuit of order that Sargeras first encountered these malevolent entities. The Nathrazim, with their mastery of manipulation and deceit, had long been agents of chaos, weaving webs of influence across the unsuspecting worlds they touched. Unlike the brutish demons Sargeras had vanquished in his campaigns, the Nathrezim wielded subtler weapons. They were not conquerors who sought to dominate through force of arms alone. Theirs was a dominion of the mind and spirit. Their machinations were insidious, their whispers carrying the weight of ancient secrets and forbidden knowledge. It was through these whispers that they introduced Sargeras to an unsettling truth. The Nathrezim spoke of the universe's inherent instability, of cracks in the fabric of reality that could never be mended. They painted a chilling picture of the cosmos as a fragile tapestry, continuously under threat from the insatiable hunger of the Void Lords. These revelations gnawed at the edges of Sargeras's resolve, casting doubt upon the very foundations of his beliefs. The Nathrezim claimed that all creation was doomed to be consumed by the void, and that the old gods, those monstrous horrors he had fought so fiercely against, were but the heralds of an inevitable end. In the presence of the Nathrezim, Sargeras felt the first true stirrings of fear, a fear not for himself, but for the ultimate fate of the universe he was sworn to protect. Their words were like poison, seeping into his thoughts and corroding the certainties he had held dear. The Dreadlords were adept at exploiting the slightest weakness, and in Sargeras, they found a mind ripe for their manipulations. Yet they did not seek to control him outright. Rather, they sought to plant the seeds of doubt that would grow unchecked. The encounter with the Nathrezim marked a pivotal moment in Sargeras's journey, a moment that would echo throughout the annals of cosmic history. Here was a titan, once steadfast in his purpose, now grappling with an existential crisis that threatened to unravel his very being. The Nathrezim, with their twisted truths, offered a grim alternative to the eternal struggle against chaos, a vision of a universe purged of its imperfections through fire and destruction. In their eyes, Sargeras saw a reflection of his own growing despair, a despair that whispered of a new path, one that diverged starkly from the teachings of the Pantheon. As he weighed the words of the Dreadlords against the doctrines he had followed for eons, a tempest of doubt raged within him. The Nathrezim, those masters of manipulation, had planted a seed of discord, and Sargeras found himself at a crossroads. To continue on the path ordained by the Pantheon meant to fight an eternal war, one that seemed, with each passing millennium, more untenable and Sisyphean. Yet, the alternative offered by the Nathrezim, a radical cleansing of creation, required a leap into the abyss, forsaking all he had ever been. The Dreadlord's words resonated with Sargeras, for they spoke of the universe's inherent flaws with a clarity that was both unsettling and undeniable. Their vision was one of total annihilation followed by rebirth, a cycle of destruction and renewal that promised to strip away the rot of corruption and allow for a fresh genesis. It was a concept both terrifying and exhilarating, and Sargeras found himself pondering its merits, seduced by its ruthless pragmatism. In the shadows of his own thoughts, Sargeras began to question the very nature of creation itself. Was the universe doomed to an endless cycle of chaos and order, forever locked in a fruitless struggle? Or was there a possibility, however grim, that the slate could be wiped clean, offering a chance to forge a cosmos free from the insidious influence of the void? The Nathrezim, with their dark enlightenment, had introduced a notion that the Pantheon had never dared to consider, a universe remade through destruction. As he grappled with these thoughts, Sargeras felt the weight of isolation bearing down upon him. The other titans, steadfast in their commitment to order, could not fathom the depth of his turmoil. Sargeras stood alone, a solitary figure burdened with the knowledge of the void's insidious reach and the tantalizing vision of an untainted existence that only fire could usher in. The encounter with the Nathrezim was a pivotal moment, marking the beginning of Sargeras's divergence from the Pantheon. Their insidious influence had ignited a transformation within him, one that would set him on a path of rebellion and ruin. The seeds of doubt had been sown, and though the echoes of his former loyalty lingered, they were drowned out by the growing cacophony of his new convictions. In the end, Sargeras' encounter with the Nathrezim would prove to be a catalyst for his eventual fall. The Dreadlords had revealed to him a stark truth, one that could not be unseen. As he stood at the precipice, gazing into the void of the unknown, the champion of the Pantheon was no more. In his place stood a being poised to embrace a fate far darker than the universe could have ever anticipated. The cosmos stood on the precipice of a transformation so profound that it threatened to unravel the very fabric of existence. As Sargeras delved deeper into his despair, the weight of his newfound convictions bore heavily upon him. The mighty Titan, once a paragon of order and justice, was now a solitary figure, tormented by the relentless whispers of the void and the haunting visions imparted by the Nathrezim. Within him simmered a burgeoning belief that the universe, tainted and flawed, needed purging through fire and destruction, a radical cleansing to free it from the insidious grasp of the old gods and their void masters. This burgeoning belief was not born of malice, but rather a twisted sense of duty, a perverse vision of salvation. Sargeras, consumed by his inner turmoil, wrestled with the notion that the Pantheon, despite its vast power and wisdom, was blind to the true depth of the cosmic threat. He questioned whether their benevolent methods could ever truly eradicate the darkness that lurked at the universe's core. Thus, Sargeras found himself on a path where righteousness and corruption blurred into an indistinguishable veil. The Nathrezim's machinations had woven a tapestry of doubt and despair within Sargeras' mind, and it was within this tapestry that he began to craft a vision of a new reality forged in the crucible of annihilation. In his solitude, Sargeras contemplated the unimaginable, a universe cleansed of its imperfections, reborn from the ashes of its destruction. It would be a realm where the void's malevolence could never take root, an existence untainted by the corruption that had ensnared so many worlds. Yet this vision was fraught with peril and paradox. The Titan realized that to protect creation, he might need to become its greatest destroyer. Sargeras' heart, once filled with compassion and hope, now beat to the rhythm of a relentless resolve. A resolve to wield his power not as a guardian, but as a harbinger of devastation. In his mind, he envisioned a cosmic crusade, an unyielding march to cleanse the universe of its afflictions, even if it meant standing against his fellow Titans and the very order he had once vowed to uphold. As Sargeras' convictions solidified, he knew that to enact such a cataclysmic change, he would need allies who shared his vision, a new pantheon forged not of creation, but of destruction. The Nathrezim, with their cunning and insidious influence, had unwittingly provided him the keys to a dark alliance. The Dark Pact was born from necessity and despair. As Sargeras sought to reshape the universe in his own image, he envisioned a legion, not of titans, but of beings who embraced chaos and destruction as tools of ultimate salvation. Thus he turned to the darkened corners of existence, to those who had once been adversaries, offering them a place in his new order. The Burning Legion, as it would come to be known, began to take shape from the remnants of worlds long abandoned, the embers of existence rekindled by Sargeras' fiery will. He promised power unimagined to those willing to serve, to become harbingers of a new dawn, sweeping away the rot of stagnation and birthing a universe purified by flame. Demons from across the cosmos flocked to his banner, drawn by the promise of liberation through annihilation. As his army grew, Sargeras' resolve hardened into steel. He no longer saw the universe through the eyes of a protector, but as a craftsman with a vision of perfection wrought through destruction. The Pantheon, once his brethren, now stood as obstacles to his grand design, guardians of a flawed creation, blind to the corruption festering beneath its surface. Yet even as his power swelled, A shadow of doubt lingered at the edges of his mind. Was the path he had chosen truly the only way? In moments of solitude, echoes of his past self whispered of alternatives, yet those doubts were swiftly consumed by the inferno of his newfound purpose. The Nathrazim's whisperings had awakened a darkness within him that could not be silenced. In the depths of his transformation, Sargeras came to understand the price of his ambitions. The universe he sought to save would never accept such brutal salvation willingly. He would become an outcast, a pariah among his kind, despised for the very vision he believed could save them all. This burden, heavy and isolating, was one he bore willingly, convinced that the sacrifice of his own soul was a small price to pay for the greater good. Thus, the seeds of the Burning Legion's first great crusade were sown, and Sargeras stood poised on the brink of a war that would echo through the ages. His path was set, and as he looked across the vastness of the cosmos, the flickering lights of countless worlds seemed to ignite with the promise of the coming storm. In their glow, he saw not the chaos he once battled, but the potential for a universe reborn, forged anew in the fires of his unrelenting vision. The stage was set for a conflict of unimaginable scale, and Sargeras, the great betrayer, would lead his legion into the heart of creation, seeking to reshape its destiny with the very fire of his own corruption. The shattering of beliefs had led to a new beginning, one that would forever alter the tapestry of existence. Within the sprawling tapestry of existence, a new chapter unfurled as Sargeras, once a paragon of virtue, embarked upon a path of unprecedented destruction. The Burning Crusade was born out of his growing disillusionment and the festering conviction that only through annihilation could true salvation be achieved. It was a campaign unlike any the cosmos had witnessed, its purpose singular and its scope boundless, to cleanse the universe of its imperfections and to eradicate the influence of the insidious void. Sargeras, now wholly consumed by his new vision, marshaled forces from the darkest corners of creation. The Burning Legion, a legion of demons driven by an insatiable lust for chaos and destruction, arose as his instrument of wrath. These creatures, drawn to Sargeras's promise of unbridled power and freedom from the constraints of the universe's natural order, pledged themselves to his cause. With their allegiance secured, Sargeras commanded a force of unparalleled might, capable of laying waste to entire worlds with but a flicker of his will. The Legion's onslaught began with a relentless fury. World after world fell beneath their shadow, crumbling under the weight of unrestrained malice and infernal fire. Each victory only served to bolster Sargeras's resolve, reinforcing his belief that the Pantheon's methods had been naively inadequate. The universe, in his eyes, was a festering wound, and the Legion was the purifying flame that would scourge it clean. The scale of devastation left in their wake was staggering, a testament to the power and ambition of the fallen Titan, who now styled himself as the Great Betrayer. Yet Sargeras's crusade was not merely a campaign of brute force. It was also an assault on the very foundation of reality itself. He sought to unravel the intricate threads of the cosmos, to unmake the work of his fellow Titans, and reshape it in an image of his own devising. His vision was one of a universe reborn through fire, purged of the corruption that he believed lay at its heart. As the Burning Legion's influence spread, the universe trembled under the weight of its fury. The Pantheon, once Sargeras's allies and kin, watched in horror as their greatest champion became their most formidable adversary. They struggled to comprehend the depths of his transformation, to reconcile the noble Titan they had known with the monstrous entity he had become. The realization that one of their own had turned against them was a bitter pill to swallow, and it forced them to question the very nature of their purpose. In the midst of this cosmic upheaval, Sargeras remained resolute. His vision of a cleansed cosmos drove him ever onward, and he was unyielding in his pursuit of what he deemed to be the ultimate truth. But as the Burning Crusade raged across the stars, leaving ruin in its wake, a deeper question began to emerge. Could even the great betrayer control the inferno he had unleashed, or would he too be consumed by the flames of his own ambition? As the burning crusade swept across existence, its flames unquenchable, Sargeras' legion of destruction grew ever more formidable. Legions of demons followed him, their numbers bolstered by those who reveled in chaos and despair. Each world they touched was reduced to ash, a testament to Sargeras' unrelenting mandate. Yet the cosmos was vast and resilient, its denizens determined to resist the annihilation that threatened to engulf them. The nascent defenders of life, an ensemble of races and cultures scattered across the stars, began to rally against this looming shadow. They were drawn together by a singular truth. Survival demanded unity. This unlikely coalition, nascent and disparate, looked upon the burning crusade with both fear and defiance. While Sargeras saw his war as a cleansing purge, these defenders perceived it as a looming extinction, one that must be staved off with every fiber of their being. It was during this time of utter chaos that Sargeras found himself confronted by the very paradox of his vision. The more worlds he obliterated in his quest for purity, the more he realized the futility of his actions. Destruction, once begun, had a will of its own, an insatiable hunger that devoured indiscriminately. Sargeras faced a sobering realization. His crusade, meant to purify, threatened to reduce all to nothingness, leaving a void even the Void Lords could scarcely imagine. Yet even amid this revelation, Sargeras pressed onward. His resolve, though challenged by the reality he had wrought, remained steadfast. His conviction was not merely to destroy, but to reshape, to forge a new order from the ashes of the old. But could this new cosmos be born from such ruin? Or was it merely a mirage of hope amidst the chaos? The answer lay not with Sargeras alone, but with the very fabric of the cosmos. For every world consumed, another stood defiant. For every race obliterated, another rose to take its place. Sargeras, the great betrayer, faced a grim truth. The cosmos was not so easily bent to one will, no matter how mighty. The burning crusade, his grand symphony of destruction, had become a cacophony of resistance and defiance. As the crusade continued its relentless march, Sargeras found himself at a crossroads. The universe, though battered and scarred, refused to yield completely. The denizens of the cosmos, united by the shared threat of obliteration, began to strike back with renewed vigor. In this struggle, a new question emerged, one that would haunt the great betrayer as his war endured. Was the cosmos truly meant to be reborn from destruction, or was the path to salvation one of preservation and balance? Thus, the burning crusade, a war against the very fabric of creation, stood on the precipice of an uncertain future. The fate of the universe hung in the balance, teetering between annihilation and a rebirth yet to be defined. Sargeras, driven by his dark vision, had set events into motion that even he could not fully control. And so, amidst the ruins of shattered worlds, a new chapter awaited, one that would test the resilience of creation itself and challenge the very essence of Sargeras' beliefs. In the vast tapestry of creation, where light and shadow entwined in an eternal dance, the moment had come for Sargeras to transcend the boundaries of his former self. He stood on the precipice of transformation, a figure once revered, now shrouded in the ominous aura of his own making. The universe trembled under the weight of his impending metamorphosis, as the noble Titan prepared to embrace a destiny far removed from the ideals he once championed. Sargeras, now consumed by a fervent belief in the necessity of his new path, set forth with a resolve as unyielding as the cosmic forces he once sought to tame. His heart, once a bastion of hope and resolve, had become a vessel for a different kind of conviction, one that saw the annihilation of worlds not as an end, but as a means to an ultimately pure rebirth. The clarity of his vision was a beacon that drew to him those who would become his instruments in a dark and terrible crusade. The Burning Legion, forged from the ashes of doubt and despair, rose as an army of darkness, bound by Sargeras' will. Demons of unspeakable power flocked to his banner, their loyalty born of fear and a promise of dominion over the cosmos. Sargeras, now the Dark Titan, stood at the helm of this unholy force, a master of destruction poised to unleash a cataclysm across the stars. Yet within the chaos of his grand design, the echoes of his former self lingered, whispering of forgotten glories and a purpose once noble and true. With each world that fell to his legions, the universe bore witness to the magnitude of Sargeras' betrayal. The Pantheon, once his kin and confidants, could scarcely comprehend the depths of his fall. They watched in horror as the balance they had long strived to maintain was shattered. Their brother, now their greatest adversary. The cosmos itself seemed to recoil from the onslaught, as if the very fabric of reality sought to shield itself from the wrath of the Dark Titan. Yet amid the devastation, a singular truth emerged. A realization that the path Sargeras had chosen, while steeped in darkness, was driven by a vision of cosmic order reimagined. The Titans, blinded by their rigid adherence to ancient doctrines, had failed to grasp the full scope of the threat that Sargeras perceived. In his mind, the destruction he wrought was a necessary purge, a cleansing fire that would pave the way for a new beginning, free from the corruption that festered within the shadows. Yet in the heart of this cataclysmic vision lay the seeds of Sargeras' ultimate betrayal, a transgression not only against his kin, but against the very fabric of reality itself. His descent into darkness marked the birth of a new epoch, one where the forces of chaos and order would be inexorably entwined in a battle for existence. The Burning Legion, a formidable host of demonic entities bound to his will, became the instrument of his newfound purpose. Under Sargeras' command, they were unleashed upon the cosmos, a relentless tide of destruction that sought to reshape all creation in the image of his twisted ideal. As the firestorm of his campaign spread across the stars, Sargeras' once noble visage now bore the visage of a dark titan. His fiery eyes, once the embodiment of hope and strength, now burned with the intensity of 1,000 suns, reflecting the inner turmoil and conviction that drove him. The cosmos trembled before his might, as countless worlds fell to the inferno of his wrath. The echoes of their demise reverberated through the great dark beyond, a haunting symphony of despair and annihilation. Despite the chaos he wrought, a part of Sargeras clung to the belief that his actions served a higher purpose. In his mind, the agony and suffering he inflicted were necessary sacrifices for the greater good, a cleansing of the cosmic slate, paving the way for a future unmarred by the corruption he so despised. Yet, as the flames consumed all in their path, the boundaries between salvation and destruction began to blur, leaving in their wake a tapestry of ruin and despair. The Pantheon, once his allies, now stood as his formidable adversaries. Yet, Sargeras viewed them not as enemies, but as misguided siblings, blind to the truth he had uncovered. He believed that their refusal to embrace the path of radical cleansing would ultimately doom them all. In his eyes, their reliance on outdated doctrines rendered them incapable of comprehending the magnitude of the threat posed by the Void Lords and the old gods that served them. As the stars bore witness to this cosmic schism, Sargeras' resolve hardened into an unyielding force. He would forge a new path through the ashes of the old order, a path where the universe would be reborn under his dominion. This was his ascension as the Dark Titan, a being both revered and reviled, whose legacy would be etched into the annals of history as the great betrayer of the Pantheon. The stage was set for a conflict that would echo through eternity, shaping the destiny of all creation. With the creation of the Burning Legion, Sargeras wielded a force unlike any the cosmos had ever witnessed, a storm of annihilation poised to unravel the very fabric of existence. No longer was he the noble protector of the universe. He now stood as its ultimate peril, a dark harbinger intent on reshaping creation itself. His legions, a churning mass of demonic power, stretched across the infinite tapestry of the cosmos, leaving a trail of ruin in their wake. Worlds that had once thrived under the guiding light of the Titans now quivered in the shadow of the great betrayer's ambition. The Legion, with its insatiable hunger for destruction, became the embodiment of Sargeras' twisted vision. Demons of all kinds, from the cunning Nathrazim to the relentless pit lords, rallied to his cause, drawn by the promise of unbridled chaos and domination. The universe, once a cradle of order meticulously shaped by the Pantheon, descended into an era of unending conflict. The burning legion swept across the stars, consuming entire civilizations, each conquest feeding the insidious flame of Sargeras' dark purpose. As the legion's scourge spread, the once vibrant civilizations of the cosmos fell into despair. Ancient empires crumbled under the relentless onslaught, their once proud legacies reduced to ash and memory. Yet amid the desolation, whispers of resistance began to stir. The cosmos, unwilling to succumb to Sargeras' grim vision, began to mount a defense. Heroes and champions from myriad worlds united in defiance, their resolve kindled by the hope of a future untainted by the shadow of the Legion. The Pantheon, though betrayed and fractured, remained steadfast in their determination to save the universe from their fallen brothers' wrath. They sought allies across the cosmos, powerful beings of light and shadow who would stand against the encroaching darkness. Together, they forged a fragile coalition, a last bastion of hope aimed at countering the great betrayer's inexorable advance. But the power of the burning legion was vast, and its master's will was unyielding. Sargeras, now a being of unimaginable might, wielded his demonic army with ruthless precision. Each victory bolstered the Legion's ranks as the enslaved souls of fallen heroes were twisted into new instruments of war. The balance of power shifted, the cosmos teetering on the brink of an abyss from which it might never return. As the tide of destruction rose, the stars themselves seemed to dim, their light dwarfed by the consuming darkness of the Legion's passage. The universe stood at a precipice, the path ahead shrouded in uncertainty and fear. Sargeras, unrelenting in his campaign, sought the ultimate prize, a universe purged of its imperfections, reborn in the fires of his apocalyptic vision. But even as his shadow spread, a flicker of resistance remained, not only within the remnants of the shattered Pantheon, but also among the myriad worlds that had yet to fall under his dominion. This resistance, though fragile and nascent, represented a beacon of defiance against the all-encompassing darkness of Sargeras' ambition. As Sargeras advanced, worlds trembled under his malevolent gaze. Each planet, a unique tapestry of life and history, faced the threat of obliteration, for none were exempt from his grand design. Yet, in the hearts of those who stood against him, a profound determination took root. Across the cosmos, heroes began to emerge, champions of light and life who refused to bow to the will of the Dark Titan. These warriors, drawn from countless races and realms, forged unlikely alliances, united by a singular purpose: to halt the Legion's unrelenting march. The burgeoning resistance was not without its challenges. Within its ranks lay a myriad of cultures, each with its own beliefs and histories, and bringing them together required a unity of purpose that transcended their differences. Yet, against the towering shadow of Sargeras, these disparate factions found strength in their diversity, their combined forces a testament to the resilience of the cosmos. As battles raged across star systems, Sargeras' attention was drawn to a world unlike any other, Azeroth. It was a planet whose essence hummed with untapped potential, a world that could serve as either the keystone of his new order or the foundation of the resistance against him. The fate of Azeroth, and indeed the universe hung in the balance. On Azeroth, the echoes of the burning legion's approach reverberated through the land, a harbinger of the impending storm. Yet, as the skies darkened and the ground trembled, the inhabitants of Azeroth began to marshal their defenses. The ancient races of the world, long steeped in their own histories of conflict and survival, began to awaken to the shared threat. Elves, dwarves, humans, and more. Their destinies intertwined in a struggle for survival against a foe that sought to unmake all they held dear. In their hearts burned a defiance that was as unyielding as the ancient mountains, a resolve that mirrored the eternal stars. For in the face of annihilation, they found strength not only in their weapons and magic, but in the bonds they forged with one another, a unity that even the might of Sargeras could not easily shatter. Thus, as the universe reeled from the onslaught of the burning legion, a new chapter in the cosmic saga began to unfold. It was a tale of hope in the darkest of times, of courage in the face of overwhelming odds. The fires of the legion may have cast long shadows, but within those shadows, the sparks of resistance ignited. These sparks, though small, held the promise of a brighter dawn, a dawn where the light of the universe might yet endure, defying the will of the great betrayer. In this crucible, the fate of creation would be decided, setting the stage for the ultimate confrontation between the forces of annihilation and the indomitable spirit of life. In the cosmic dawn of destiny, as the universe teetered on the brink of ultimate annihilation, the Pantheon strove to forge a plan to reclaim the order they had once so diligently upheld. Now, these once mighty titans stood divided and weakened, their champion turned foe, Sargeras, reshaping reality into a harrowing vision of fire and ruin. The universe's fate hung precariously, and hope seemed a fleeting echo of the past. Yet the Pantheon, despite their profound wounds, summoned the last vestiges of their strength for one final, desperate gambit against the dark tide of the burning legion. In their council chambers, solemn and resolved, the Pantheon gathered. This was no ordinary assembly. It was a convergence of cosmic will and an unwavering resolve to restore balance. Their leader, Aman'Thul, the High Father, whose wisdom spanned ages untold, held the assembly in his commanding presence. His voice, imbued with the weight of eons, called upon each titan to lend their might and magic to a singular purpose, the entrapment of the fallen titan, Sargeras. The plan was audacious and fraught with peril. It demanded that the Pantheon harness the entirety of their cosmic powers, intertwining them to form a celestial prison, a cage of light and order capable of containing even the boundless fury of the Dark Titan. In this endeavor, Ionar, the Lifebinder, sought to infuse the plan with the essence of creation itself, her nurturing spirit seeking to breathe life into a new beginning beyond the chaos. Yet within their ranks, doubt whispered. The Pantheon understood too well the cost of such a gambit. To imprison Sargeras might mean their own end, a sacrifice to ensure that the universe might one day heal from the scars of betrayal. Norganon, the keeper of celestial law, pondered the consequences, his mind a whirlwind of calculations and probabilities. Would their efforts be enough to restrain the might of Sargeras, whose power had swelled to unimaginable heights? As the Pantheon prepared to enact their plan, the cosmos itself seemed to hold its breath. They knew their actions would reverberate through the ages, shaping the fate of countless worlds and beings. In this moment of collective resolve, the Titans reached out across the stars, calling upon allies and champions hidden among the worlds, still untouched by the Legion's infernal grasp. Among these allies rose the defenders of Azeroth, a world of immense potential and an unsuspecting key to the unfolding saga. In their final bid to counter the tide of darkness, the Pantheon devised a plan, both audacious and fraught with peril. They would bind their essence into the fabric of Azeroth itself, hoping to ignite a spark that might one day rise against the Black Titan. This act of sacrifice would leave the Pantheon vulnerable, their physical forms diminished, yet they believed it was the only path forward. As the Titans prepared to blend their souls with the nascent world soul of Azeroth, they were acutely aware of the risk. Should they fail, the universe might fall irreversibly to the Legion's relentless advance. To this end, they dispatched their avatars and the last vestiges of their power to the world, seeking champions who could carry their strength and will through the ages. Among those chosen were beings of great courage and wisdom, who would stand as the first line of defense against the impending storm. These champions, imbued with the Titan's essence, would become the stewards of Azeroth's destiny, guardians against the encroaching darkness. Yet even as the Pantheon undertook their grand gambit, the shadows lengthened. From the depths of the twisting nether, Sargeras sensed the gathering of power and the unity of purpose in the hearts of his former brethren. His fury flared, a cosmic storm that threatened to unravel the very fabric of the plan before it could take root. Sargeras, with his burning legion at his command, sought to extinguish the flickering hope kindled by the Pantheon. He knew that should Azeroth rise to its potential, it might challenge even his apocalyptic vision. The stage was set for a confrontation that would echo throughout eternity. As the forces of light and shadow prepared to clash, the very heavens trembled under the weight of impending conflict. The Pantheon's gamble was not merely a battle for a single world, but for the survival of all creation. It was a desperate hope that one day, against all odds, the champions of Azeroth would rise to fulfill the Titan's last wish. In this crucible of destiny, the future of the universe hung by a thread. The Pantheon had sown the seeds of resistance, but only time would reveal if they would bloom into salvation or be consumed by the darkness they sought to repel. As the cosmos awaited the outcome of this final stand, the echoes of the Pantheon's resolve reverberated across the void, a testament to their enduring fight against Sargeras, the great betrayer. As the cosmic storm of conflict reached its zenith, the Titan's hopes rested on a precarious plan. The Pantheon, once a symbol of unity and cosmic order, faced its most harrowing trial. Aman'Thul, the High Father, gathered his celestial brethren for one final stand against their fallen brother, Sargeras. The shadows of the universe loomed large as the Titans prepared to face the embodiment of their greatest fear, the Dark Titan, whose name had become synonymous with destruction. Their gambit was audacious. To bind Sargeras within the very fabric of the universe he sought to unmake. Such a task required not just power, but sacrifice. The Pantheon, aware of the perilous nature of their plan, knew that success would demand nothing less than their own essences. It was Eonar, the Lifebinder, who proposed the ultimate sacrifice, to weave their spirits into the weave of Azeroth itself, a world teeming with untapped potential. This world, they hoped, would become the cradle of a new cosmic dawn. The Titans, resolute in their purpose, set about their ambitious endeavor. Norganon, the keeper of celestial knowledge, calculated the precise alignment of forces required to enact their binding ritual. Meanwhile, Sargeras, the Shaper, and Golganath, the Thunderer, fortified Azeroth's defenses, embedding within it the strength needed to withstand the coming onslaught. The Pantheon's avatars scoured the universe, seeking champions worthy of inheriting their legacy. Champions who could stand against the tide of darkness should the Titans themselves fall. Yet, Sargeras was not oblivious to the gathering storm. His senses, attuned to the tremors of creation, detected the ripples of power emanating from Azeroth. The Dark Titan, now seething with malevolence and purpose, marshaled the full might of the burning legion. Demonic hordes, driven by unyielding fervor, surged across the cosmos, threatening to engulf all that lay in their path. Sargeras, with his insatiable hunger for obliteration, prepared to confront the Pantheon on a battlefield of his own design. The fate of the universe teetered on a knife's edge. Allies from across the stars, drawn by the desperate call of the Titans, converged upon Azeroth. Here, amid its verdant landscapes and ancient mysteries, the final confrontation approached. The air was thick with the weight of impending doom, yet within it lingered a whisper of hope. As the Pantheon's energies intertwined with the nascent world, a tapestry of destiny began to weave itself into existence. Azeroth, the beacon of possibility, awaited its role in this cosmic drama. As the forces of creation gathered their courage, the echoes of fate reverberated through the cosmos. The stage was set for a confrontation that would define the ages, as the Pantheon, their avatars, and their newfound allies prepared to confront the unrelenting darkness embodied by Sargeras. The Burning Legion, vast and terrible, loomed on the horizon, its demonic legions a testament to the fallen Titan's grim resolve. Yet within the heart of Azeroth, a burgeoning power stirred, a world soul, unlike any other, harboring untold potential and secrets buried deep within its core. The Titans, aware of the stakes, imbued Azeroth with their essence, transforming it into a bulwark against the encroaching night. This world, both nascent and ancient, became a crucible, a forge in which champions would rise to challenge the great betrayer. As the forces of light and shadow prepared to clash, whispers of prophecy danced on the winds, hinting at the role Azeroth would play in the battle to come. Sargeras, ever vigilant, sensed the convergence upon this world, a nexus of power that defied his vision of cosmic order. His fury, a burning storm across the heavens, was tempered by a cold, calculating resolve. He knew that the ultimate victory required more than brute force. It demanded the unmaking of hope itself. Thus, he set his gaze upon Azeroth, not merely as a battlefield, but as the linchpin of his cosmic design. The conflict that ensued was cataclysmic, a testament to the ferocity of ideals clashing across the void. Elemental forces unleashed their fury, and the very fabric of reality trembled under the weight of their struggle. The Pantheon, drawing upon the strength of their avatars and the courage of their allies, sought to seal Sargeras away, to imprison him within the confines of a celestial cage wrought from the heart of a star. Yet the Dark Titan's power was formidable, his will an indomitable force that resisted the chains of destiny. In the crucible of this battle, Azeroth's defenders found their resolve, a unity forged in the fires of adversity. Heroes from every corner of the world stood together, defying the darkness with every breath. They were the embodiment of the world's hope, a testament to the indomitable spirit of life itself. As the energies of creation and destruction collided, Azeroth's world soul responded, its latent power awakening in a blaze of defiance that shone like a beacon across the void. In the end, it was this unity, this convergence of will and purpose, that turned the tide. The Titans, wielding their combined might, succeeded in imprisoning Sargeras, binding him within a prison of cosmic design, a triumph that echoed across the stars. Yet, even as the great betrayer was shackled, his legacy lingered, a reminder of the delicate balance upon which the universe rests. Thus, the chains of destiny were forged, a testament to the courage and sacrifice of those who stood against the darkness. Azeroth, scarred yet unbroken, remained a world of infinite potential, its future unwritten, its legacy a beacon to all who would rise to defend the light. And so, the chronicles of Sargeras reached their conclusion, a tale of betrayal and redemption, of hope and despair, etched into the annals of time, forever shaping the destiny of creation.